Hi friends, this is Calpun Piso. From my brain to yours. Remember that we create thinking with the brain. When the brain malfunctions, suffer from neurological disorders of some sort, schizophrenia and all that, it accepts bizarre metamagical beliefs as if they were true. In other words, God, spirits, and IFOFIBA, imaginary friends, foes, irrational beliefs. Religious beliefs are mental illness. Now I'm going to talk about one of the biggest problems with this disease, because it's psychopathy, and it all starts with blood, and more blood sacrifice. All religions have them. All religions have this blood sacrifice, and they torture animals, and they do all this kind of stuff. But the most notorious of all them all is a monotheistic religion. Only in name, but they believe in only one God. A zombie that resurrects and saved with blood. I mean, imagine, this is a torture God that they worship. It's actually a mistake, because it's actually a tropaion. The Romans never crucified people. It's just it's a mistranslation. The epigraphy shows, there was pictures, mosaics and all that shows that they did not crucify people, criminals, as punishment. And this is my other videos. I mean, the evidence shows that the cross is a tropaion, is a symbol of the sun god. Nothing to do with criminals and all that. Criminals were pushed down, they were impaled, they were doing all kind of torture, but impale them. They don't put them in a tropaion. That's a different story. But everything, the Abrahamic religions start all with blood. Read the Talmud, the many Bibles and all that, everything is with blood. In this case, I'm starting with the Kaparot. A Jewish psychosis. All religion is a psychosis. You cannot say religion without adding the word psychosis after it. So never say religion by itself. You always say religious psychosis. Islam psychosis, Christ psychosis, conspiracy theory psychosis. They're all absurd beliefs, crazy beliefs, schizophrenic beliefs, psychotic beliefs of accepting nonsense and deluded crap as if they were reality. And that's exactly what happened with people that have suffered trauma to the brain. They have a problem with the brain, and that's a fact. So you can see that all these religions have these sacrifices. They sacrifice animals, chickens, for instance, and all that, which is completely taken from the Rome area, a Roman perception of the Roman religion, and I want to explain that. The Roman religion, the chickens were used to predict the future and predict things, not predict the future, but predict things, good omens. And I was very involved religious rituals. They never killed the chicken, like this idiot is doing this in Kabbalah. So it didn't happen. I mean, there's no evidence. They did, it's very different. So here I started with this clip. So see how dangerous it is with this Abrahamic religions, the psychotic religions of blood and more blood.
This is a Jewish practice, Jewish psychosis practice kaparot, where they kill a chicken to the gods.
Early in the morning, the day before Yom Kippur, a somber rite is performed, reminding one of the fragility of life. Penitents recite a prayer of repentance and hand a live hen or rooster to a shochet for kosher slaughter. The chickens will be donated as food for the hungry, and the act of charity.
This is all Jewish psychosis, exactly like a schizophrenia, people with delusions.
Sensitivity to the sanctity of all life, Torah directs the Jew to cover the blood of a fowl or animal which has been spilled.
Accepting this sadomasochistic blood psychosis beliefs today in this 21st century is sign of retardism. It's a problem with the brain that these people have, a psychosis.
Now, this is a ritual, a Jewish psychotic ritual, because all religions are a form of mental illness, like a schizophrenia. It's something like that, but worse, because it's hidden like HIV in the neural array, and they're full blown. And this Christ psychosis, Islam psychosis, and just name it. Religion is a mental illness, makes people crazy. And all the Abrahamic religions are sadomasochistic. They all have blood. And they are taken from the religion of the Roman Empire. All of them come from there. Now this Caparot is the killing of a chicken. You know, Yom Kippur and all that, and they bless it and all that stuff. And here's videos of it. And they killed the chicken. And the Roman Empire, they didn't kill the chicken. The chicken was used to predict the future. Done in all kind of ritual with prayers. They didn't kill the animal. It's amazing. These morons had no idea about the old camp. They're completely distortions of the Roman imperial religion, of the Christus. And that was 2,000 years ago. Now we have these morons over here, psychotic. They use those ancient practices as if they have any basis on reality and fact. And this is a problem. It's called Caparot. You see it here. Now he's blessing the lady after doing all the prayers, and then slaughters the chicken and throw it in the garbage.
Here, Augustus appointed Lucius as augur. Notice the chicken, and the chicken has to eat, and that's a good omen. They are sacred chickens. In the Battle of Trepanum, this commander committed impiety by drowning the chickens, threw them overboard. He lost the battle, and he was accused of blasphemy. Again, these are all sadomasochistic, sadistic practices from way back, 2,000 years ago, and today there's a psychosis to actually do this today in this 21st century. This is a sadistic, schizophrenic act with absolutely no purpose except to please the imaginary friends, the sadistic imaginary friends of gods. These deluded acts are psychotic and no different than those of a schizophrenia. It's good for nothing. Not in this 21st century. It is psychotic. And all religious psychoses have them.
This is Jewish psychosis for you.
This is no different than going to church and getting on your knees praying for a sacrifice, a God that saves with blood. Exactly the same thing. Go to a Hindu temple, go to a Muslim temple and pray to the jinn and angels. And it's exactly as if they are psychotic, schizophrenic acts. Also denotes sadism, like people that love to go hunting and they love bullfights, cockfights.
This all came from the Roman Empire. The Roman religion, the augurs, there were different type of priests. All the senators were priests, and they spoke Latin, which is the language of the whole vast empire. Gods for everything. They personified everything. Religion was everything. Signs of this, signs of that. I mean, name it. They created a tremendous tolerance in the empire because you have many gods. But the augurs specialize in reading the signs of the birds, the flight of the birds. And chicken was their specialty because chickens, if they peck one way, it means something. If they eat, it's a good omen. If they don't eat, it's a bad omen. So if they move this way, it's a certain omen, you know, certain things and predictions. And they will use the chickens for all that, and they bless people with the chickens and all that. But they never kill them. That was a sacrilege. You kill the chicken, you're in trouble. So you never do that, like this idiot, this Caparot bullshit is doing. So it's a mistranslation. So, but that's what happened. And the reason the chickens are used and they kill them and all that stuff in Santeria, they all come from Christianity, or Christ psychosis. Everything is started with Christianity in the 4th century. All this nonsense. Judaism, all the Abrahamic religions, Judaism, Christianity and Islam, they all began in the Roman Empire. They are distortions of the cult of the Christus, which was Julius Caesar. That's what all the blood comes from, because he was killed by Nicera, the 15th of March of 44 BCE. They call Good Friday. Everything is blood, 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 and everybody uses blood, and that is because of the sacrifice of Julius Caesar. Was the only true God in those days. The only true God, the whole vast empire. They didn't have any other bullshit of Christ and Allah and all that crap. No, the most important God was Julius Caesar. There was a Christ, was a living God, and he was, of course, killed by the Senate, which was personified as a pan, as an evil entity. So personifications everywhere. But that's what all this, and then the Christianity distortion in the 1st century and all that. They'll redesigns the Roman religion. They just distorted everything, and then we have all this craziness, the psychosis of religious beliefs today in this 21st century. And the mentally healthy, sane, atheist intellectuals, because an atheist is a person that is a without, and Deus is God, crap, and bullshit and fantasy. So if you don't have bullshit, crap, fantasy, psychotic fantasy in your brain, means that you're sane, and that's what an atheist means. It's lack of acceptance, bullshit as true. Religious psychosis, bullshit. So that's the reality. That's a fact. See, all the religious psychosis infections, they all come from the Roman Empire, from the killing of Julius Caesar, the Jesus Christ, the Christ. It's a title. Moses is also a title. And these morons, they bring this, they distort all these practices, which belong in the Middle Ages, not in the Middle Ages, belong in ancient times. Not today. Today, this is a psychosis. This is a mental illness. Christianity is a mental illness. Judaism is a mental illness. They are all psychoses. They are like schizophrenia type disorders. They all create in infected brains. And this all comes from the mohel, sucking the penis of little babies. They cut and they take the blood in the mouth. That's a ritual, just like the chickens. Like killing animals, killing everything. And it's sacrifice. It's sacred. And Christianity has a ton of them. Bullfights come from that, throwing goats from the steeple of churches, killing chickens, killing animals, and all that come from from Christian psychosis. And all religious psychosis come from that. And these people here, they're committing fellatio. They are sucking the penis of a little baby, and they sucking the blood and cutting it. It's disgusting. And the priest in the Catholic Church, they actually suck the penis, but they give him pleasure. They don't cut their penis. But they're pedophiles. No, they're all psychotic pedophiles. All of them. Religion is a mental illness. Christianity started all that crap. There was no pedophilia in the Roman Empire in ancient times. They didn't, because the children were considered gods. You didn't cut their peepees, you didn't suck their penis. No, they were considered gods. You didn't touch them. That's the reason you have in the Catholic Church, you have the little fat little angels called putti, surrounded the Virgin and surrounding all this stuff. They're all sacred. All the children were sacred. They were like gods. But these imbeciles here, they are not in mental institutions. They look at it. They're wearing all the veils like the Roman Empire. They're wearing all the apex and all the attires. All Roman Empire. All come from the Roman Empire. Everything. And a rabbi during circumcision, the mochel, sucks the penis of the baby, getting the blood in his mouth.
They have genital mutilation of girls too, and all this is transfer. All this practice, psychotic practice, to the shootings, to the guy that shoot people in schools, and all of these sadomasochistic attitudes are taught in the Bible and taught in churches and synagogues and all that
crap. Keep in mind that all this blood crap and immorality and all these crazy BS that spread and corrupt the mind of children, make everybody psychotic in the United States of America, are churches. Churches. That's what they read. Only one book that is full of blood sacrifice and Abrahamic crap and all this bullshit, and they are actually taught to children as if it were true. That's the reason you have circumcision. They cut people's penises, they suck their penises and cut the blood of the penis. In circumcision, they do all kind of crazy stuff, and this thanks to these churches molesting the brain of children. These are psychotic people that belong in mental institutions. They're stuck in the 12th century. And we are in the 21st. The brain creates that the God bullshit and all this psycho nonsense when the brain malfunctions. And that's religious psychosis for you. Keep that in mind. churches do it. And mentally healthy, in other words, atheist intellectuals, they are clueless and they don't see it and they don't go on protesting churches. And the Congress is infected with psychotics, and the judicial system is infected, the Supreme Court is infected. These people are sick people. And it's going to be very difficult to try to put them in mental institutions and actually trying to fix their brains. And lobotomy will kill psychosis or any religious psychosis. Or give them some pills. It will cure them too, like mirtazapine or Zoloft and all that. They will correct their brains. They give them lucidity momentarily. Here is a sample of psychosis that blind, sane, atheist intellectuals do not see. Come on, people. This is spread in churches. This is a psychosis. I've been telling this ad nauseum for a long time now.
Lead to murder.
There's no way anyone could have predicted this.
The Bible verse
No.
is now a clue in the death of a toddler. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us. I'm Liz Quirante.
Inside the Abacoa home, police found a computer left on with a message for whoever found it. In the arrest report, police blacked out the exact message left on the screen, but the report does say that Lucas and Ethan were in the church just 24 hours earlier listening to a sermon given by Pastor Leah Brown at Beach Gardens. The report says, quote, her sermon covered Genesis 22, in which God asked Abraham to sacrifice his son Isaac. But at the last minute, God stops him from doing
Psychosis!
so. Brown says the surviving members of his family are surrounded by love.
I think
Surrounded by love, you piece of shit!
At a time and put one
Is that the
in front of the other one
Christian
at a time.
garbage
It's kind of all
nonsense? I must point out that all religious psychosis, the Abrahamic, so-called Abrahamic religious psychosis, all of them are based in blood sacrifice. All of them. No exception. All religions are like that. They're all based in blood sacrifice. And that includes Buddhism. If you read the history of this religious psychosis, they all have blood sacrifice. The Abrahamic psychoses are monotheistic, and which means they have just only one imaginary friend. But also, the thing is that one fights the other and the other one fights the other. Christianity is divided in many, many sects. Judaism, psychosis, is also divided in many sects. And Islam psychotics are based on 73 sects. And they all fight against each other. And this has been going on for 1700 years. Since the initiation of the Christ psychosis and the Abrahamic psychosis religion. So there is no exception. They're all based on blood. If you can read their sacred books, there's just only one Bible. But there are many Bibles. And they all fight against each other. And the Quran, the same thing. There are many. Like I said, 73. And they all fight each other. And they all have blood sacrifice. So this is the reason in the United States of America, which is a Christ psychosis infected nation, they fight the Jews and they fight the gays and they fight anybody, and they want blood sacrifice, and they sacrifice animals. They want to spill blood. And there's a mentality in this country. It's all Christ psychosis. It's all blood sacrifice. Columbine shootings, these people are brought up in an atmosphere, in a blood sacrifice atmosphere. Hunting is good. Killing animals is cruelty, is good for them. And they don't realize they have been conditioned by the psychosis and the church psychosis upbringing, the Bible crap. And they're all like that. All religions fight each other. It's blood sacrifice. There's no exception. There's no such a thing as a religion of peace. They all like to kill each other because nobody agrees. Look at the Holocaust. That happened in the Holocaust. The Inquisitions. And they were actually Christian against Christian. Psychotic and Psychotic. And you have the Muslims too. There's like Malaysian Greece. You know. And handmade. And these are used for sacrifice also. You kill your enemy. But that's what it's all about. It's all Sadomasochism is in all religious psychosis. One God, that is the problem. If you have many gods, then you have tolerance. And they usually respect all the gods because you don't want the other guys to curse you. So they all respect all of them, all the gods. But when you have one God that somebody believes in, just one particular imaginary friend, all hell breaks loose, and then you have sadistic sadomasochism. And then animals are tortured, and you kill people. Look at this shooter over there in California, recently. Same thing. He wants blood. He was, feel inferior. A woman didn't like him, and he had this idea of grandeur that he had a complex of inferiority that emerged into him making himself superior. Columbine shooter, the same thing. All Psychotics, Koresh, Jim Jones that killed 900 people because they want to go see Jesus. And this is a psychosis within this different bloodthirsty psychopathies. And all the Abrahamic religions are bloodthirsty. So that's blood sacrifice, and they all are related to some begot belief, which is all sadomasochism innate. And this is what happened in the United States of America. Anti-science ignoramuses, because all is based in blood sacrifice, which is in the Bible, and the Bible is taught in the millions of churches in the United States of America, a Christ psychosis infected nation. And mentally healthy, sane, atheist intellectuals are blind to this fact. They don't understand it. Religious beliefs is a schizophrenia-like disorder. Malfunction of the brain, sadomasochism. That's what it is.
This psychopathy is taught in churches. They read only one book of myth. It's blood, blood, and more blood and sacrifice.
Some of the most horrendous and in some ways sophisticated methods of torture that were developed during the Inquisition.
Exactly.
And this woman doesn't mention Christianity. And Christianity created the Inquisition and all the torture and blood and crap like that. And all of this is taught in churches. This sadism, this blood sacrifice, this psychopathy, all is taught in churches. And this is what people do not understand. And atheists should wake up, okay? These are all Bible teachings. She doesn't mention that.
They're all designed to inflict unbearable pain.
Do that. They didn't burn him in those times. They hanged him. Christians, they love blood and torture and all.
Incredibly, under torture, the witch was viewed as highly dangerous.
Of course. Schizophrenic people.
The Malleus Maleficarum warned the torturer never to look a witch in the eye, for fear of her evil powers.
See how superstitious people were?
The brain, product of evolution, was created when the Lord Penis Christ of our dads ejected sperm into the cave of creation of our mothers. 9 months later, our brains emerge blank of information. If you believe in imaginary friends when you get educated and you grow into the planet learning different things, and you believe in God, you're a schizophrenic, infected imbecile believing in imaginary friends.
The device we found in the universe.
The universe is within. Exactly.
10 billion cells just in the cortex, which is the outer part, and in a single tiny piece of cortex, a cubic millimeter, you have more connections than you have stars in the Milky Way galaxy.
The brain is our private universe we create quantum thought with.
An evolution that from mouse to man it expanded about 1,000-fold in terms of the numbers of neurons to produce this almost frightening organ structure. And it has not stopped its evolutionary path. In fact, the human neocortex and the human brain is evolving at an enormous speed. It's made up of little modules, G5 processors like in a computer, but there's about 1 million of them. They were so successful in evolution that what we did was to duplicate them over and over and add more and more of them to the brain until we ran out of space in the skull and the brain started to fold in on itself. And that's why the neocortex is so highly convoluted. We were just packing in columns so that we'd have more neocortical columns to perform more complex functions. This is a chemical location where they can communicate with each other. And these synapses together form the network.
And this is brilliant Swiss neuroscientist Dr. Henry Markram. POTUS Obama is mentally healthy, in other words, an atheist. Now if we can put all the psychotic in the asylums they belong.
Always keep in mind, always, we are born, we are created by coitus, by sperm fertilizing an egg. The creator is our dad. God is cock, a rooster, a bird, but it's a penis, Christ. Because Christ is an anointed savior, and the penis gets erect and is anointed with lubricants, with oils for penetration. So it's an anointed savior, in other words, it's a penis, Christ. So the name fits it, it's the definition right there. And it's the penis Christ of our dads, our creator. That's where we begin. And 9 months later, you know, it's evolution, evolving, mutations of the DNA create our brains. And we emerge blank from our mother's cave, and then we began to navigate the planet with the 5 senses and try to tell between fact and fiction, fact and fiction. And if our brains are screwed up, you start believing in imaginary friends and gods and all that, believing that they are real. Happens in all religions. That's the reason of all religions, every culture has religious psychosis. All of them. Because religions explain things that you don't know. And instead of saying, I don't know, and then you start to do experimentation and trying to learn, no, you invent things because your brain demands knowing things. Because it's insane if you cannot. But this is the thing, and that's what religions are invented, which is a psychosis. And the more you know, the more difficult it is for people to bullshit and lie to you. So it's good to feed our brains with good information. Always be skeptical. Don't believe anything anybody tells you. You just have to check it out for yourself, verify the information, and then you have to see the whole picture. And then you have to connect all the dots, because one little piece of information is not going to give you anything. Studying neurology only, study architecture, study archaeology, study paleontology, study geology, evolutionary biology, astronomy, astrophysics, and all that stuff, it's not going to give you the information. You have to connect all this different, to see the whole picture, you have to connect all these different disciplines. Then you are a well-rounded person and you can understand things much better. So that's the best way to do it. Otherwise, anything else will give you tunnel vision. That's a fact. Keep your brain healthy. In other words, atheist. Pace di oro.